Welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm Justine Richman, and today we're sitting down with someone who is asking a question the beauty industry has spent billions trying to make you afraid to ask. That question is simple. What if my age isn't the problem? My guest is Daniela Inbar, founder of Inbar & Co. and Resonance Marin Spa, a woman who spent 30 years inside the luxury beauty machine, building brands, developing products, watching how the machine actually works. And then she did something radical. She walked away. Not because the industry was hard, because it was dishonest. She's a cosmetic chemist, a product developer, and the daughter of the woman who literally pioneered the German aromatherapy movement. What's extraordinary is that Daniela isn't selling anti-aging products. She sells something far more subversive, skincare that actually listens to your skin instead of lecturing it. For 5 years, she's been formulating, testing, and refining products, not in sterile labs, but in the real world. At Resonance Marin, where thousands of clients with real skin have lived with these formulas, questioned them, broken them down, and asked her to make them better. Daniela, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome here.
It's always great to be here. Next time I come, I'm coming for a spa.
Yeah, good.
In the meantime, I'm so glad to have you here. It's really an exciting opportunity. This is part of a series that we're doing to really spotlight people in the Bay Area that are rooting themselves in sustainability and building with purpose. So I naturally thought of you.
Oh, well, yeah, those are my big passions, the filter that we try and do everything through. I'm proud and happy to be where I am. And all of those experiences and moments, I carry with me. So I don't actually know what I still have.
Well, probably because you've been practicing this for so long, but was there anything that came up throughout the years that you were really surprised about that you had to throw out?
In terms of sustainability?
Yeah.
A lot. From, Tupperware to what kind of nail polish I use, to choosing how I go shopping, what bags I take, how I transport water if I'm going to take it with me. If I want mineral water, I can make it myself with a soda stream. I'm not buying mineral water from Italy or Germany anymore. There's lots of little things.
You grew up on 3 continents, right? Mm-hmm. In different cultures, in households where wellness wasn't something you learned in a beauty ad. It was something your mother made. That's different. How did growing up watching your mother build this first German aromatherapy company teach you to think about the creation versus marketing?
It's about authenticity. It's a lot about tradition and what you've learned. It's very much the foundation of a holistic approach to health, to beauty, to nutrition, to all of that is embedded in that Eurocentric kind of mentality, which you don't see as much here. As progressive and wellness oriented as we are in California, we're learning it, and it's all trendy. But it isn't like just part of how you, how you manage a cut or a bang when your kids fall, or what do you do when your eyes are burning, or that's something that was really just part of culture and growing up. Adding to that, having spent time being born in Ethiopia, having spent time in Asia, you just pick up all of the local things that add into that kind of holistic approach.
So how does that translate when you moved here? Or how did that translate when you moved here? What was your experience? What did you see?
Well, moving here, from how you recycle or don't, that you don't have a place where everybody communally brings their paper and their glass, that you can throw everything into one, maybe 2 bins, and that's it. Like, you're not really thinking about that. Was definitely one thing. And that, again, I'm going back to food, but seasonal.
Right, yeah.
Being able to have every fruit and vegetable at any time of the year was really strange. I think it stops you from enjoying looking forward to it and making it into, a ritual and a celebration of the season. So those are things that were really, that changed, and that I try and include even when I'm here.
Right. So when you first got here and you noticed this, right? Here you are, you're younger, and it's a well, and here are your children here, and you're trying to raise them with the values that you grew up surrounded by and that you're rooted in, right? And here you come here, and it's sort of a bit newer.
I think that for me, it's not like you did. I mean, you don't come here and say it was so just ingrained in how I do stuff that I didn't think about it. Like, I am not an activist or a eco warrior or anything that I certainly wasn't. It was just kind of the default setting. And so, especially when we opened the spa, it became that big question of, well, we actually now have to start filtering and thinking about it, because it isn't default, it isn't policy, it is none of that. And then having children, they're now in their 20s, but in the last 10 years growing up with them here, they also forced me to think about these things much more consciously. Like, really, truly, this is kind of the reason for all of this, and any of the things that we do in the spa or in the product line, is leaving a legacy. That's the luxury. And I want to leave behind a planet that my children can leave to theirs. And that is what the other filters and the rules we set ourselves all come from, is to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super interesting. I mean, I grew up in New York, and I feel like it's worlds away from here, in the way we think about sustainability, the way we think about local, and how we do things. I think it's becoming more and more familiar. Now the narrative is a little different. I feel like there's a lot of questions that people have, how to make it work. It's not in all the systems. So there's a lot to fix here, and there's a lot of education, I think, that needs to happen. We talked about inheritance, the legacy, and the path not taken. How did you hold on to that ancestral wisdom while everything around you was screaming, you need more?
Really lucky, having seen, experienced 2 generations of those women who walked through the world and had the most amazing skin, and were always told how amazing they looked and weren't aging. And just having that realization that scratch that.
You want me to ask
that? No, it's like, it's complicated to like get that segue, but having that be my default for so long, and being told that this is what is better for you, and then learning about the skin's microbiome. That the skin works in systems, and we have a system. The OG skincare is the millions of bacteria, enzymes, and so on that are on your skin doing the work. And if you leave them alone, that's actually going to do it's going to get better results than a lot of what we do. From harsh cleansers to aggressive actives to all of these things. Actually disrupting your barrier is going to cause congestions, reactivity, and it's going to age you faster. So really being gentle and working with what you've got and supporting that is the basis for every single product we make. And it's the same for the planet that we live in. We need to support it. We need to make sure that it works well, that the systems work, instead of taking away from it or adding things that don't belong.
Right.
So, having grown up with those kind of, this is how you do it, to learning about physiologically how your skin works, it was like really easy to put them together and say, oh, okay, well, this makes sense. And, I have we have a lot of people come in. We're like, oh, I want your skin. And I'm going 60.
I do want your skin.
It's really, really, really simple. It's like, do less, not more. It's the order and working in systems that will get you there. And, even those moments of, well, should I have something done? Should I do injectables or Botox or whatever? And I'm like, no, there's a moment. And then I feel like this is what I want to look like. This is who I am. This is who I will recognize in the mirror. And this is the roadmap for my children, not to go down some crazy rabbit hole.
Well, just as an anecdote, I was on Instagram earlier, and I was scrolling through some photos. And there's a picture of a woman that I know, and it just didn't look like her anymore. And for me, that doesn't work. Like, I want to look like me.
Yeah, I think there's also a dissonance of emotionally, mentally, of what you see in the mirror and what you're supposed to see and what you see, and that's really strange. And everybody has their own beauty standard, and everybody can do whatever they want. I just feel personally that I don't want to look younger. I want to look better, and I want to look real and authentic, and not like I've done something to change myself.
Yeah, no, and I think I look at people, and I look at my mother. I'll just use my mother as an example. She was beautiful. She had beautiful skin. She just put some moisturizer on it. I was like, is this genetics? Is this just what you're doing? I hope to look like this when I'm 80 years old. But I look at a lot of older women, and they're very beautiful, and they've aged. They get better with age, and they look more beautiful, and they look more themselves even.
Yes, I actually do think they look more beautiful. And this isn't something that I'm making up now in hindsight. In my 20s and 30s, I was like, when do I get those lines? When do I start looking interesting? As opposed to just, pretty or something like that. I was looking forward to it. Now, when they come and when the first grays come in, it then starts to be like, from the society where we're in, we second guess it. Like, oh, well, maybe it isn't as cool as I thought it was. And maybe I do need to do something. And especially being in the beauty industry, it was like the first thing, oh, well, am I supposed to look aspirational? Do I have to stand for what the beauty industry sets as a standard? Do I have to look like that? And there were definitely moments where I questioned that. And I think the older I'm getting and the more it's showing, the more I actually just want to stand by it.
But I think you do look aspirational. Like, as you sat there, and you were talking about age before, and I feel like I look at a lot of people my age and a little older, and I'm like, wow, they look amazing, they look great, and that is aspirational to me.
Yeah, either you're on the one end of the spectrum or the other. There's not much in between. Like, either you're straight up doing every invasive procedure that's possible, or you stand by where you are. There's not a lot in the middle.
And I will say, I do, some people, we all age differently, right? And I do think that plays a role for some people as well, right? As people age differently, they have different things that change on their body that change how they look to themselves, and then they're really uncomfortable with it.
No, this is the right way to change.
Yes.
As opposed to, and there is the question, which part of it is you asking that, and which part of you that is what you're being told you're supposed to look like.
So you've built this long successful in luxury, in home, in design, etc. And 30 years of it. You knew how to work inside that system. At what point did you realize that system itself was the problem? What was the moment you thought, I can't keep doing this?
I think it was when we opened the spa and we had looked for brands that were clean, and we were using them, and when we looked a second time, I saw that isn't actually a standard that is regulated. And what does that mean? And everybody has a different idea of it. And so then also my children being of a certain age was like, okay, I had to make my own standards. And when I realized what it was that was important to me in terms of sustainability, in terms of what do I want from a product, how do we define luxury? And that for me it's a legacy. Luxury is more than just a pretty thing. That's when all of a sudden I was like, oh, well, these are the things that are important, and I don't see any products ticking those boxes. And at that time, ticking sustainability boxes and still being luxurious.
So when you first started this and you're looking for, as you were saying, clean products, tell me, what did clean mean to you at that moment?
It's a really good question. It meant something, something was being done right. Like, I didn't question what that meant or if there was anything behind it beyond mostly natural.
And what did natural, when you
like
saw natural, what did that mean?
Natural meant not using chemicals, it was all of those markers that you still hear, non-toxic, free of, natural, chemical-free, all of these things. Now, when you go into actually how products are made and how products are effective and what the whole supply chain of a product means, that isn't good enough. That is not specific enough. It's so much more complicated. And chemical, for instance, is not a four-letter word in formulating. Because then water would already be X'd out of any formula. It's a chemical. Everything is a chemical. So that, and then where is natural better? Where is synthetic or lab-made safer? And also definitely more sustainable for the planet, because I think people don't even think about whether it's, argan oil or shea butter or any of these products. They need to be grown. As soon as something becomes trendy and you need a lot of it, you're going to have issues with monoculture, biodiversity, the amount of water, when we're in California, that goes into growing some of these ingredients is enormous. So where does that stop actually being sustainable? How stable and effective are all of these natural ingredients? I think you have to really be careful not to put all of the food, organic, natural markers onto something like beauty. It doesn't, you can't just take them and put them there and say this is going to work. It's not the same thing. So what our sustainability filter is how is this going to affect your skin, and how is it going to affect the planet? And those two things have to overlap when we choose what we put into a formula.
That must have been quite the process, though.
Oh my God, if I'd known when I started, I wouldn't have done it. Whether it's what goes into it or what your packaging is, the complexity of trying to actually be sustainable and do the right thing is enormous. And once you've cracked one code, another 10 open up. And there is no way of being perfect.
No.
That doesn't exist. If you want to be completely perfect, go off the grid, grow your own carrots, and that's it. You don't do it. Then you're not allowed to be doing any kind of consumer product or anything. So when you are doing it, we really, really tried, whether it's our detergents here in the spa, our cleaning supplies, the sheets that we use that aren't microfiber but cotton. All of these things are much more difficult to source, much more difficult to find, and making those choices and then slowly figuring out. You go from, okay, what's great, what's a good packaging? Glass. Everybody was doing glass 6 years ago. But, it's really heavy, and so that the carbon footprint for the transport is higher. Then let's do wood. There's so many different options. We landed on aluminium. The biggest issue for us was landing on something that is not plastic. And whether it's the packaging or the product, using no petrochemical derivatives, like really staying clear of fossil fuels in any way, shape, or form, whether using renewable energy here to run the spa and the production, to what goes into all of it is that's I think that our biggest marker is that we don't use that. And plastic is a fossil fuel derivative, and It is also the whole microplastics
Right.
issue that has now blown up, and it's great that it's become mainstream issue. It wasn't before, and people didn't understand what the consequences could be.
Right. Yeah. Now that there's so much conversation about that, about the microplastics.
Yeah, microplastics. It's an enormous thing that's gone mainstream, and I love it. 5 years ago, when we started with the aluminium, no one really understood that.
Are there any downsides to aluminium?
No, not at all. It's light. It's small. It's great to travel with. It's recyclable. It can be recycled infinite amounts of time. It doesn't degrade. It keeps the product really stable, doesn't oxidize. It just it doesn't have a downside at all. And then whatever else we have, we use FSC certified paper. We use it for the outer boxes. We use it for the shipping. It has been now almost 7 years from the very, very beginning of the idea to where we are now, to the amount of things I've learned along the way, and things I was so sure of that I've had to let go in the process of making these decisions. And you're constantly weighing against economics.
But it goes back to perfection. You can't be perfect.
You can't be perfect. And you've got the issue of cost. You have the issue of also client perception. Forever, we refused to make any products that needed to be sprayed, because there is absolutely no way to make the atomizer without a little plastic tube in it. And I stuck to my guns until last year, and everybody wanted the essence that we use in treatment here. And so we brought it in an aluminium bottle, and there's an opt-in atomizer that you have to pay for, that we donate those funds entirely to the World Wildlife Fund. It was the compromise that was really hard, but people want to spray. So it's also changing consumer behavior of how they use things in order to be able to...
Is there another way to get that without it being a spray?
You can pat it, and so we have it so people can put it and they pat it on, but there's still 50% of the people that were like, yeah, but I won't buy it if it isn't sprayable.
Wow. Okay.
So then you start like, oh, am I going to lose that revenue? How consistent am I going to be? We're a small business. And so there's a constant weighing of cost and revenue and so on.
I'm curious about your consumers and your customers or clients, myself being one. Do many of them know the extent to which, you go for sustainability? It's not just in the products, it's in every fiber, it's in every choice that you make here.
Yeah, I don't know how to communicate that. And it's definitely not front and center. We have it on our website. We will send out newsletters about it, but it's... Am I allowed to say this?
Say whatever you want.
I'm feeling like it's become less and less important for people.
Wow.
Where you could lead with sustainability, on the one hand, it's become table stakes, and on the other hand, it's not, like, we don't talk about it anymore as much. I wish that it was more important, because then we would have an incredible advantage over almost all of our competitors, be it product or spa.
Right, so wait.
But we don't.
I want to make sure I understood. So you're saying it became less important now. Yeah. What do you think prompted that shift?
Politics.
Politics. The dirty word. Okay, well, we won't get into politics right here. But okay, so fair enough.
I think that and this is a really difficult one, and I don't know who's cracked the code in terms of luxury. We're in Marin County. We have a certain kind of clientele. We do a certain kind of service, and we have a certain kind of product. And, being able to, having that refinement and aesthetic and level of, quality in all sorts of things, that is the most important part that has to be there. And then the sustainability kind of isn't, it's not why people initially come.
Right.
And it's not the reason people are going to choose us over another spa. I think it's our, the quality of our practitioners, the beauty of our space, the efficacy of our products.
There's nothing else in Marin like this. I mean, I remember saying that the first time I came in. I was like, wow.
They're like, oh, that's nice. We said, we're 100% plastic free. We're this. Most of people think, oh, that's great. But I don't think it's going to inform their choice of whether they come to us or buy our products as opposed to going elsewhere.
So does that mean if we're going to expand this conversation to support other founders and business owners to create change, that we need to start talking more to people like you that are doing this so that we inspire the founders to create the change, because it's not dictating change at the consumer level?
No,
then.
It's not.
So it's about inspiring those other business owners. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about your journey here, what was one thing that surprised you as you were going through this that you learned that, you know, was kind of a deal breaker for you around sustainability, or something that you were really surprised about?
In the industry?
Yeah.
How lazy everyone is.
Okay.
No. I think what I'm surprised about most, always, again and again, is how easy it is to talk sustainability without actually walking it all the way. And to be fair, maybe a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing isn't sustainable. But there's so many outs to greenwashing.
Yes.
And it's so easy. And I think half of the people at least aren't doing it on purpose. But if there was more education and more policy and top-down regulation around it, then more people would know and you'd be forced to do it.
Yeah, you and I have talked a lot about education and policy and how we both feel like there's a real need for that. And I even think that it's really about, it's beyond the consumers. It's about inspiring those next generation of business owners to create the change there. I think we need to inspire the consumers so that they can make more informed choices, which is why we sit here and we have these kinds of conversations to try to inspire that. But I think from what I'm hearing from you is that it really talks about the businesses and the owners of those businesses and how they're building it and choosing purpose.
Yeah, you have to really want to and know how to, if there was a platform of, what do I do in case X, Y, Z in order to avoid, an educating platform for business owners of where to find these solutions.
There was no roadmap for it.
There is no roadmap, and it's really hard, and you've really got to want to do it. And for me, it's like it's become a passion. I believe in it so hard that I don't care whether it's the easier way or the economically more
right.
efficient way to. It's like we're going to do the right thing.
And I remember you. I don't know if it was like last time we saw each other, but you'd mentioned the role you heard your daughter telling you something, and that was pivotal for you also, and helping you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I would definitely have, 10 years ago, I come from luxury. I love luxury. Who doesn't? It's fabulous. But getting to really understanding all of a sudden what the ramifications of certain decisions are, and having kids that really, they thrift, they resell their clothes. They are talking and living it, not in order to save money, but in order because it's the right thing to do. Because this is a generation that is truly scared. Mm-hmm. But I think the big question is, in order to inspire others to do this, is how do you make it something positive? Because the fear-mongering isn't working. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked on a consumer level. It doesn't work on a business level. How do you make this, how do you positive conditioning as opposed to fear-mongering? And that's whether it's about age positivity or sustainability or any of those things. It works better. I just haven't quite figured out how to do that yet.
Okay, well, we'll have to figure that out maybe together.
Yes.
We'll brainstorm a little bit.
Because scaring people is, you scare them for too long, they just turn off. They're not going to be scared anymore. It's just.
I also think with everything that's going on in the world, there's so much, every time we look at our phones, there's some news break, there's something that's scary, there's some reason we're dying, there's some reason, something's getting blown up. I mean, I think I'm a glass half full kind of person, even when I'm trying to create change, because it keeps me positive. It keeps me going. If I drown in that negativity, it feels like instead of swimming, you're sinking.
Yeah.
And you can't really get to the next level and continue. So I think that there's something there. Not sure how we do it,
but it's about getting lots of people to do 10% and not one person to do 100, because that gets us further.
And so I think that talks to the way that the community relates to all this, right? Understanding the industry and knowing where your comfort level is and what you can do and what you can get behind. Because if I'm just using this as an example, some people, they like to thrift and they like to do that, and they get new things that way. Other people don't like the idea of putting on clothing and I'm not judging one way or another, right? But if that's their thing and they're doing that, well, you know what? They're doing their part. Maybe they're not perfect, but I think that should be celebrated, acknowledged, and shared, because that is good. As opposed to telling people, well, you ordered in food tonight, and now, think about your carbon footprint and all the stuff that came with it, the plastic. Although I did order food the other day and it came in styrofoam. I did not even know that you could still do that. I really thought that was a thing of the past. Okay. So I'm curious, okay, as we wrap up this conversation around the industry, and you walking away from luxury in home and product development, not completely, you came to beauty and you're still in this, but what gave you the permission to go from there to here?
Oh my gosh, the permission, my parents. I spent my entire life watching them move from continent to continent and start one business after the other. And there's nothing you can't do if you're not interested in learning it.
I feel the same way. That's how I was raised. My parents told me the same thing.
There isn't. It doesn't matter where you start, and as long as you're interested. And God bless Google and YouTube and Claude and all of those places where you're able to be a lifelong learner without having to be enrolled in something. It's great. There's no one stopping you.
No, curiosity. It's about curiosity.
Yeah.
It's about solving problems that are important to you. Because if it's important to you, all of a sudden it's a whole new thing, right?
It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. No. So let's talk about the philosophy, reframing beauty, aging, and the body's language. Mm-hmm. So, because age is not a defect that we're looking to erase, as you and I just discussed, right? Skin needs structure, hydration, barrier support, and daily protection so it can keep functioning over time. I've read that multiple times. It's so elegant and so simple, but it's also completely at odds with how the beauty industry speaks. We've all watched those TikTok videos, etc. How do you articulate that philosophy? What was the thinking? What was the thinking process?
Well, I think maybe part of it comes out of design. Less is more, and that is true for absolutely everything. It's about being supportive as opposed to tearing things down, and we can do that here. We got to the easy part was because we use everything in treatment, and because every product was development in treatment and made better, and we talked with everyone that comes in and out of here. People see the results. We see the results. It works. So that made it easy to kind of go on working on it and standing behind it. You just have to You have to stop the cycle and be consistent. And you don't need more. You just need to do the right thing. And you need to let your body do its thing.
And I love your process that you talk about, how it's tested on people.
Oh yeah, we test on humans.
I love that.
And they like it. And it's been amazing getting all the feedback every time someone comes out, every time someone takes something home and comes back and says, oh my God, that worked, I want more. Or, can you make it a little less sticky? Or it's every single day. And it isn't because we have a meeting or we set out time. It just happens organically because we're seeing so many people coming in and out and talking to us about it.
And they probably feel like they're part of the process too, which is amazing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they walk in and they see it, and we're often making it during spa hours, anything that's not making noise. Otherwise, we do it when we're closed. And I think everybody knows that they're part of the process. The R&D department is all of us here, and everyone that comes in.
And so, when you recruited all these new people that are here, this must be a really unique role for them to play, because you don't really go behind the scenes in the same way at most places and be part of the R&D and be part of that production. There's usually a separate team. It might be in a lab somewhere else, but you have this all in one place. What's that like, recruiting for and for the team?
I think it's, again, curiosity. And whether the estheticians that are really, really psyched to be a part of it, because they're not always asked.
Right.
Same with the clients; they love to give feedback because they're not usually in the process. You go through a lot of people, and you see who stays and who's interested and who's has fun and realizes how much more interesting it is like this.
So much more fun.
As long as a bit of love for skincare and a bit of love for the industry, and you're good to go. You'll learn everything here. You don't need to bring it to the table. I didn't, and no one else does.
Which is really great, as people are listening to this and they want to change careers or they want to be inspired to create their own brand. To hear from another fellow entrepreneur that they were able to build their own thing, that with a little curiosity, ingenuity, and some drive, you can figure anything out.
And joy. Just the joy of the result of the process of making it, of seeing something come to life. Like, I am so happy every time I take this in my hand. I'm like, oh my God, this is...
What's that?
This is the Renew PM, but it's the packaging, it's the tube. I see it. This is all of the ideas, all of the midnight oil, the thinking, the second guessing, the questioning, and then something beautiful comes out of it, and you see it. And that's Christmas, Easter, Hanukkah, and my birthday all on one day is when something works.
I mean, great stocking stuffers. Great for each night of Hanukkah. You can have you can get 8 different presents.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's fun. Everybody likes all that kind of stuff. So sorry, let me pause for a second. Let's talk about Inbar Co. Here we go.
Yep.
This brand that you built for your 50-plus skin, so that your teenage daughters would want to steal it from your bathroom. That's the inverse of how beauty works. Most brands segment, they divide, but you unified. Why was that so important, and what did you have to give up to make that choice?
It's a marketing a message. This is the only thing I needed to give up. I think it's also a question of economy. When you're a small brand, you can't do endless amount of SKUs. So, you find the products that work for more people. And it's actually not that hard, because you don't need different products. You need different combinations and different proportions, depending on your age, depending on, just your skin type. Is it summer? Is it winter? Are you flying? Are you in the tropics? It's not about needing so many different products. It's just about how you combine them and how you use them. And it comes back to just the physiology of skin.
So do they steal the products?
Oh, yeah. And their mommy, can you please send me?
Oh, that works well. Yeah, that works well.
No, they're my greatest evangelists, and they love coming. It's like, going into a cafe in Paris, and she's like, "Mommy, someone just commented on my skin." I'm like,
and all their friends, I'm sure,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Exactly.
It's not. We don't need different things.
So they say that there's no such thing as skin type in your world. Only skin conditioners trying to communicate. Walk us through that distinction and why it matters, because it sounds like philosophy, but I suspect it's actually chemistry and observation.
So this whole skin type, I'm oily skin, I'm dry, it's you aren't a type. You can have a need or a concern at a certain time that needs to be addressed, and most of those issues, again coming back to the skin microbiome, whether it's congestion, which is usually over sebum production, whether it's aging or sensitive skin, which we see so many people come in with, it's an imbalance. So what you're doing is balancing it out with the right combination of products. You don't have a type, you just might have an imbalance of what your skin is doing. Not enough enzymes, not enough bacteria on it. These are the things that if you have aggressive cleansers, for instance, and you're stripping your microbiome, you're changing the bacteria that are on there, and then the enzymes. With a lower pH, the enzymes can't work to do their thing, to build their own ceramides and stuff that people put in creams so that you can put back on your face. A lot of it your skin can do itself, and it's about balancing it out. That's it. It's about homeostasis. It's not about a type, and it's not about tweaking it or changing it.
I want to pause for a second. Kevin, how long have we gone? Because I want to ask you some questions so we can better understand what you did, hopefully to inspire others. Mm-hmm. So sustainability in beauty is often a trend, a marketing angle, but for you, it seems foundational, baked into every decision. Why is sustainability non-negotiable for Inbar & Co., not as a nice to have, but as a core value?
To leave behind a planet my children can leave to theirs.
The beauty industry creates 120 billion units of packaging waste every year. Most of it is in plastic. When you decided to go plastic-free, what was the conversation with yourself? What were you choosing to give up, and what were you choosing to gain?
We chose to give up the less expensive alternative, easier to find in low quantities with zero MOQs, and we chose a path that took really long and was winding through what alternatives to plastic are actually sustainable, or what are we weighing against each other in terms of CO2 or waste management. And that's where we ended up with the aluminium and the paper, and we're plastic free, and not less plastic like most companies. No plastic.
No plastic.
No plastic.
A lot of companies can't say that.
No, I don't know anyone who can, actually.
Aside from you.
Yeah.
So I know that the packaging choice we touched on, and we talked about, you chose aluminium. I'm wondering if there were any constraints as a result of that, and did it improve the product, and what did it cost to make that change?
It cost time finding suppliers to make our tubes, branded. It took us. We needed to have more quantity. We needed to take more quantity, and we needed to change the formulas. We did start at the very beginning with glass, and we did jars and pump bottles, and that changed. The tubes changed the viscosity that was needed for the product. So we had to change a lot of the formulas to make them thick enough to be in a tube and not fall out. And in the process, actually, they got better. In that process and through time, in the course of the 6-7 years that we've been doing it, also green chemistry has come a long, long way. So also ingredients that we use, we got to choose options that were safer for the planet, had less, made less waste, made less toxins, and all of those things. So, yeah.
So one other thing that we spoke about that was important to you was leaving a legacy, and that you said leaving a legacy is a luxury. I think what you mean is choosing sustainability and integrity as a luxury in an industry where everyone is also racing it to the bottom. Can you unpack that? Because I think there's something important there about who gets to make ethical choices and why. And I want to say, I feel like there's it's a challenge where I feel like making the right choice should not be a luxury, but it feels like it often is.
I think it is, and I don't want to swap with a CEO of a publicly traded consumer goods company that is forced to show results every quarter, and it is very hard to do that when you make choices that are more sustainable. And as a small business that started out with these filters, it was easier. We didn't have to change any existing manufacturing lines. We didn't have to change supply chain. We went into it from the get-go with those filters. I think the bigger you are, the harder it is to make those choices.
How do you think policy could help or hinder?
Oh, it's the single easiest way to make a difference. We all have good intentions, but we don't know if they're right, and we don't have anyone checking us on them, those of us who are trying to be sustainable. And there's lots and lots and lots of different versions of it, and it would be really good to know that there is a body of something doing that research for you, defining it, making sure that there aren't domino effects in other directions that you're not thinking of. I think policy is the single most effective way to really change things. Not for those that don't have good intentions, it forces them, and for those that do have good intentions, it supports them in making the right decisions and not having to do all of that research and make all of those decisions alone.
And so for right now, there really is no policy. Why do you think that is?
I think that's economic interests. I think there's a lot of lobbying groups that have done a lot in order for that not to happen, because it seems like the path of least resistance. And because a lot of industries, the fossil fuel industry, again, with its plastic lobbying group, that have sold us all on recycling, and so we think we've got the problem solved, where actually it's just become worse.
So if you could share with those listening today your idea of how to create change within there, what would that be? What would you want everyone to get on board with you to do?
Oh, plastic free. Get rid of plastic. I think plastic is the number one worst perpetrator of doing harm to the planet, and with that you're also automatically managing the fossil fuel and the carbon footprint. So yeah, let's all rally around trying to reduce the amount. It's impossible to remove it completely, but definitely reduce the reliance that every industry and every home, every household has on plastic.
Thank you for that. I'm with you.
Because plastic neutral is not a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
It doesn't work.
No. So as we move out of sustainability in that conversation, it doesn't really, we're not moving out of it, but just sort of going to adjacent to talk about conscious consumption, because sustainability does play a role in conscious consumption. One of the most powerful things about your business is that it teaches people how to think, not just what to buy. So let me ask you, what questions should people be asking when they're shopping for skincare? What would a conscious consumer ask, and what would completely change what they choose?
What happens to this when I'm done with it? When I've finished this tube and it's empty, what happens with it? Because that is really the big question. Yes, what's in it needs to be safe and good for you and not do harm to the planet. But what happens with the packaging? Because what you said earlier, 120 billion units of packaging a year from the beauty industry, of which 90% is packaging. When you walk into a, insert name here, store, and you see all of these beauty products, 90% of the volume, the space taken up in that store is packaging, not product.
Right.
So ask yourself that.
So let me ask you this, just as another thought for consideration. So I walk into Sephora, Ulta, you name it, Bloomingdale's, doesn't matter. And I ask the person behind the counter, what happens to this packaging? I think that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's where the
question. Yeah.
Right? Like, they're not going to know. I don't think.
No.
They're not going to know. So how do we empower? What can we share with the consumers, the people out there that are going to go out that aren't walking into Resonance to buy their product, where everybody here knows what their packaging is, where it comes from, why the choices were made, because not everybody's staff understands the full cycle of their products that they're selling.
No, nor do they care. I don't know. That's a really good question that I don't have an answer to. I wish I did. It's the secret sauce of communication and marketing for our product and for the spa, because coming back to earlier is, do people care enough to make the sustainable choice?
So wait, let me phrase it this way. Let me think about it this way. If Resonance was not just one store, if it had 500 stores, if it was, in Le Marché in Paris and etc., what would you do to ensure that those people working for you, representing your brand, could answer that question?
Well, yeah, the education of what are the implications of plastic and what happens to this when it's gone, when it's finished. Like, I think that's definitely, but it's almost enough, because people don't ask us for the big philosophy when they're choosing a cream or an oil. It's enough to say there's no plastic. Okay. I actually think that's already, I mean, that's landed, thank God, because the microplastics discussion has blown up and has become, politically neutral. So that's great.
Right.
I think plastics is becoming enough of a boogeyman. Thank God.
Okay, I like that. So basically, we say that you say there's no plastic, and that's a really strong statement. Yeah. Which then people are going to be like, okay, I'm on board. There's no plastics in this. Not on my face, not in the product, not when I recycle, etc.
Yeah. This is like brainstorming. You just gave me.
Most people don't realize that what they put on their skin ends up in the water system. Can you explain that connection? Because I think if people really understood that their skincare is literally entering the ecosystem, it would change their choices.
Yes. I mean, a really easy way to explain that one is in all of the rinse-off products. So any cleanser that you're using, it cleans, and then all of it goes down the drain and lands in the water system. It'll drain into, down into the earth, and it comes back in your food. It's that and not only the product itself, but again, coming back to plastic, the container that it's in is leaching into the product, and it's going to go back down and and I think it's 1 credit card's worth of plastic is something you consume a month.
Wow.
Now, through clamshell packaging, what's in the water systems and all of these things, it's not to be underestimated. And it's the plastic and any other ingredients that are in there that don't biodegrade.
I never knew all that. Like, I didn't even it's not that I didn't know it, I just don't think I thought about it in that way, Well,
the water,
right?
That's then used in your garden or in
That's why I asked the question, because when I was learning about this, I was like, wow, there's a lot there that I just don't think people know. And I don't think they think of that question to ask.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond the skin health, right? Emotionally, mentally, when a woman stops accepting the narrative that her age is a problem, what does that freedom feel like?
Oh, exhilarating. And I feel beautiful. It immediately gives you license to love yourself and to say, I'm beautiful, because I decide, not a 25-year-old poster that a marketing executive put together somewhere across the world, because they think that's what we're supposed to look like. It's a bit like, men making fashion for women.
Yeah, I also like when men talk about menopause.
Oh,
that's really fun. So now let's zoom out. If everyone, just as a thought experiment, made the choice to buy sustainable, ethically made skincare from companies that actually care about the planet, what would happen to the beauty industry? What would be forced to change?
If the consumers could push enough and wanted this, then the big conglomerates are going to be forced to change. And if they change, that dominoes down so that even for smaller companies, access to sustainable options become bigger. So whether it's policy or from the consumer side, if we manage to make it if that is so strong that the large companies in the industry have to change, that will accelerate it for everybody else.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that's
really kind of simple.
Right, yeah. So you talk about the health of the planet and the health of your skin as being connected. Walk us through that. How is the pesticide in my skincare connected to the soil in Marin? How is my consumption connected to climate change?
Well, we can go back to this example that is my natural versus biotech. Natural isn't always the cleaner option. Mm-hmm. And if, for instance, there's a trend for capuchon butter or argan oil or whatever, TikTok's latest game is, and everybody jumps on that, and we need more and more of that, then I'm not only, these are especially argan oil or capuchon, these kind of exotic ingredients are made in places where people will be really happy if they have something that they can grow, that they can sell at a where there's a demand, and that causes biodiversity issues, monoculture issues, that will force these kinds of communities to use pesticides on those products in order to be able to generate the kind of harvest that they need, and that ends up back in your product. It's kind of, again, it's circular. Everything comes back around. So that's also one of the issues why natural isn't always the better option, because it does have an impact on the planet. Mm-hmm. And the stability of those things. Or I like to do the C serum comparison. So vitamin C is someone that it's a jack of all trades. Pretty much everybody's got a vitamin C serum if they're doing skincare. There's about, now I'm not going to get the numbers right, but there's about 3,000 milligrams of a C in a tube this size. I think you need 100 lemons in order to get that amount of vitamin C. So if everybody wanted to go completely natural and they'd need 100 lemons every time they buy a tube of vitamin C serum, they would understand that natural is not the better option for the planet, for themselves, and it's not stable. It's not as efficacious as a biotech alternative.
And that's a whole nother conversation, the whole biotech versus natural. That is just...
But also, again, it plays into sustainability totally enormously.
It does.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest thing is that people misunderstand about biotech for skincare?
I think it's part of the misunderstanding around chemicals and toxic-free and etc. That's really complex. Everything is a chemical, and natural isn't always better, safer. Biotech has the opportunity to regulate the strength of something, and it usually has a much lower carbon footprint and lower waste management and lower use of water. All of these things that play a role. Biotech is really something that we need to take seriously, and that is a part of many more things than just pharmaceuticals and skincare. It can, lab grown is something, when done under the premises of green chemistry, which is a whole episode in itself, is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole other conversation around, the natural versus the biotech and how, people lean into one or the other. They don't necessarily, and they have very different perspectives and point of views.
This is polarization and finding the middle ground and the compromise and understanding the mechanics and the consequences of both of them, and then making the decision of what you use. And I'm not anti-nature or anti-natural, and I'm not pro-chemicals. I want to make the decision every single time that's correct in this situation. And I think that is how we formulate, how we go at everything, whether it's a decision to have cotton sheets on the massage tables or renewable energy for the building.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to unpack there, but we're going to talk about the future of beauty and where you see beauty going, and if brands actually started to treat skincare as something to listen to, not fix. So if they respected aging instead of profiting from fear, because so much of this is about profiting from fear and all the things we need to do to fix, quote unquote, fix ourselves. So if they looked at the planetary impact seriously, where do you see this? What do you see for us in the future?
I mean, this is the big question that humanity has always been running after, the fountain of youth, and I don't think that's ever going to change. Understanding that there is no hack, there's just consistency. Practice makes perfect, like in everything. Moderation is good, less is more. The future is policy and some people making right choices.
What would be the top 3 choices you think, if from a policy standpoint, that could be created to really create impact that would create change?
I think that we could, it's actually not that complicated because the EU is already doing it. Mm-hmm. And they've made a lot of changes that are like meta big ones and ones specifically for the beauty industry around green initiatives, how much plastic you can use, fossil fuel, renewables, just setting targets and limits for things, making this is the one thing, and that happens in the EU, making the industry responsible for the waste that it makes beyond its own production. So making the industry responsible for this after we're finished with it will go a very, very long way, making the industry responsible for its waste and for its output and for its CO2 will go a really long way in changing things.
Yeah, the EU is ahead of us in so many ways as it relates to beauty and fashion and sustainability. And I mean, that's so much to share that might, inspire so many others here, hopefully.
It's not complicated.
No.
And there's a roadmap for it.
So what are you working on right now that you're most excited about? What's the next evolution of Inbar?
Working on packaging that solves some problems that we currently can't without using plastic.
Okay.
So, for instance, spray mechanisms, etc.
That's what came to mind immediately.
Yes, sprays and pumps that we can do without using plastic. And there's some amazing developments in materials, like so that we're not using glass or aluminium or all of the things we know. There are plastic alternatives being made out of materials. It's not just making them out of sugarcane or so. That doesn't actually make them better. Bioplastics, again, are not a thing. But actually making them in such a way that the polymers are then biodegradable, and you put them into the earth and they're gone in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And there's some incredible biotech companies working on these, and I'd like to be able to work with them, but that's again dependent on minimums.
Awesome. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
But that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
So if you could tell every woman one thing about her skin, something that would genuinely change how she approaches beauty, what would it be?
Leave it alone. If there's one thing you do, if there's only one single thing you want to do, it's use an oil-based cleanser. For your double cleanse, anything, if you're double cleansing, do it twice with an oil-based cleanser. Leave the foaming cleansers, leave the surfactants out. You leave that out, you have a lot less work to put back in again.
Okay.
It's the one single thing.
I like that. It's very easy, straightforward. Yeah. Everyone can follow that.
Just do that, and you're 50% there.
So now I'm sure you're very excited to hear we're near the end. We have like a few rapid fire questions just for shits and giggles. Oh, can I say that? I guess I can. Yeah. It's my podcast. Okay, anti-aging serum or barrier repair cream. Which one do you actually use on your own skin?
Barrier repair.
Your mother's German aromatherapy legacy or modern cosmetic chemistry, which one shaped you more?
Oh God, I've become my mother.
One ingredients from your family remedies that made it into Inbar & Co.
Arnica and lavender.
Most controversial thing that you've ever said in a room full of dermatologists?
I can't say it out loud.
Go for it.
Oh God.
You can do it. You can do it. Go.
You don't need sunscreen. I'm not allowed to say that. I absolutely cannot say that.
The skincare myth you personally can't stand hearing anymore.
Well, which one did I say? There's some. Oh, my beef with tallow.
If you could formulate one product specifically for women over 50, what would it be?
Just use the cleanser.
You're consistent.
Yeah.
Perfect formulation or plastic-free packaging. You have to choose one.
Plastic-free packaging.
Your biggest failure in 5 years that you learned the most from in developing these products?
There's so many things that went sideways and had to be reformulated. I'm better because of my mistakes. From it curdled to it separated to I don't know everything, okay. All of it. I don't have an answer.
One woman over 40 who you think embodies age positive beauty.
Princess Caroline of Monaco. The last time I looked, I don't know if she's had anything done in the meantime.
If Inbar & Co. had a manifesto, what would the first line be?
Plastic neutral is not a thing.
Awesome. I'm gonna use that for like a lot of our videos. I like that.
It's one of my favorites, and I can't say it enough. And I hope at some point it lands.
So I want to thank you so much. You did this last minute on the spot without any questions sent to you in advance. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. It was fun. It actually hurt less than I thought it would.
Oh, I'm so glad. So I love the conversation. It's not just about skincare. It's about reclaiming the right to age without shame. It's about building something in the real world, not in marketing materials. It's about choosing integrity when you could choose scale. It's about understanding that the most beautiful thing a woman can do is stop listening to an industry that profits from her self-doubt. And it's about recognizing that every choice we make, every product we buy, every brand we support ripples outward. It touches our skin, our health, our water systems, our planet. What Daniela has built at Residence Marin and with Inbar is a blueprint for what conscious living actually looks like. It's not perfectionism, it's not deprivation, it's just thoughtfulness. It's asking better questions, it's choosing integrity, it's understanding that sustainability isn't a trend, it's the only way forward. To our Essential Ingredients community, if this episode hit home, share it. Send it to the women in your life who've been sold shame dressed up as skincare. Show it to anyone who's been told that getting older is something to fight instead of something to protect. Then go to www.inbar-co.care and actually try a product. Feel the difference between skincare that was tested in real life versus something that sat on a shelf. Experience Residence Marin if you can, because Daniela's right, the place itself is part of the formulation. Here are 3 questions I want you to ask the next time you're shopping for beauty. 1, does this brand comply with EU regulations? Or are they relying on the fact that the US banned so few ingredients? 2, can I trace where this product was made and by whom? 3, will this product biodegrade, or will it be in a landfill for the next 500 years? Those 3 questions will change everything. Daniela, thank you so much for walking away from the machine. Thank you for proving that beauty doesn't have to cost your ethics or the planet. Thank you for reminding us that we are not problems to solve. We are just skin that needs to function, age gracefully, and be respected. And thank you for being rooted here in Marin County, showing us what it looks like to build a business that's good for people and good for the planet. And to our listeners, keep making conscious choices, support brands that mean what they say, celebrate your age, take care with your skin, ask better questions about what you buy. Understand that your consumption is a vote for the world you want to live in. And remember, the most radical thing you can do in a world obsessed with staying young is to grow old beautifully, and do it in a way that doesn't cost the planet. Until next time, thank you.
Thank you. We're not anti-anything. We're pro-skin and pro-time.
Good.
We had to start our own lab because the standards I wanted, I couldn't find in any product. Aging can be a joy, empowering, and beautiful.
Great. I love it because I know you feel that. It's so fun. And last one, your skin is actually
your skin is your biggest organ and is one that does a lot of work, and you can leave it alone to do that by not introducing too many products and too many harsh actives.
And no one thinks that. We're all thinking I need 6 lists of retinol, this
Nope.
and
Nope.
this has been your whole stick.
It's the OG skincare and 100 million bacteria, enzymes. It's an entire system that does the work.